Welcome to Village Church Connections. I'm David Pavey. I love stories about answered prayer, especially when they concern the prayers of children. Here are a couple of examples. My friend Jill Briscoe tells the story of a time when she had a thriving youth ministry in the north of England. One day the young people said, "We need to pray for a bus so we can pick up more kids and get them to our activities." So they prayed for a bus. Jill wasn't sure how far they should push their prayer, especially when one day she heard her little boy asking God for a blue bus to arrive on Wednesday before the next youth meeting. Then Jill received a phone call from a friend in London with whom she'd had no contact for a long time. He said, "I have a bus to give away to the Lord's work, and I hear that your ministry is growing, so I wondered if you could use it." Oh, Jill thanked her friend profusely for the bus and accepted his offer to deliver it. "Imagine how I felt," she said, "when on Wednesday, my son David had his face glued to the window and a blue bus appeared in the driveway." "Jesus has brought the bus," he exclaimed. Answered prayer. The second story comes from Dr. Helen Rosevear, a missionary to the Congo. She wrote, "A mother at our mission station died after giving birth to a premature baby. We tried to improvise an incubator to keep the infant alive, but the only hot water bottle we had was beyond repair. So we asked the children to pray for the baby and for her sister. One of the girls responded, 'Dear God, please send a hot water bottle today. Tomorrow will be too late because by then the baby will be dead. And dear Lord, send a doll for her sister so she won't feel so lonely.' That very afternoon, a large package arrived from England. The children watched eagerly as it was opened. Much to their surprise, under some clothing was a hot water bottle. Immediately, the girl who had prayed so earnestly started to dig deeper, exclaiming, 'If God sent that, I'm sure he also sent a doll.' And she was right. The Heavenly Father knew in advance of that child's sincere requests, and 5 months earlier he had led a women's group in England to include both of those specific articles in the care package they shipped to Central Africa." The answer doesn't always line up with our desires, of course. Sometimes the answer is no. This doesn't mean that God hasn't answered. It just means that he sees the big picture and he knows what's best for us in the long run. I mean, if one farmer prays for a dry day and his neighbor prays for rain, one of them was going to be disappointed. Jesus taught his disciples to pray, "Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." He told them they should always pray and never give up. The Bible recounts a number of stories about answered prayer. There's Elijah, for example, who prayed for God to prove his power on Mount Carmel by calling down fire, and then going on to pray for rain after a 3-year drought. God sent the fire, and then he sent the rain. One day Elijah stretched himself upon a dead child 3 times, and he cried to the Lord, "O Lord my God, let this child's life come back to him again." And the Lord listened to the voice of Elijah, and the life of the child came back to him again, and he revived. Hannah prayed for a baby, and God gave her little Samuel. King Hezekiah asked God to extend his life, and God gave him another 15 years. One of the best Bible stories concerned many members of the early church who had gathered to pray at the home of Mary, the mother of John Mark. They asked God to liberate Peter, who had been thrown into prison and fastened with 2 chains between 2 soldiers, while other soldiers stood guard at the prison gate. God miraculously answered their prayer and set Peter free. He went immediately to find the Christians at Mary's house, knocked on the door, and a servant girl named Rhoda came to open it. And when the servant girl recognized Peter's voice, she was overjoyed. Instead of opening the door, though, she ran back inside and told everyone, Peter's standing at the door. You're out of your mind, they said. And when they finally opened the door and saw him, they were amazed. He motioned for them to be quiet and to settle down. And he told them how the Lord had led him out of prison. Let's not be surprised when God answers prayer. Poet James Montgomery said it well. Prayer is the Christian's vital breath, the Christian's native air, his watchword at the gates of death. He enters heaven with prayer. And thank you for tuning in once again to Village Church Connections.